August 25th is a day to celebrate. Like every day on the calendar, it's crowded with historical events, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are weird, like it being the first time anybody swam the English Channel without floaties. But I'm thinking of the liberation of Paris from the Nazis on August 25th, 1944, and that's a good thing. That's a thing to celebrate. And I don't mean that snidely. I like the French, even if they can be annoying. And as a matter of fact, Charles de Gaulle, who I don't like and who's very annoying, managed to make the liberation of Paris annoying in a characteristically French way. Now, the Allies had actually set things up so that the spearhead of the liberation was a French unit. They'd reconstituted the French army, which of course was catastrophically defeated in the spring of 1940, and so the 2nd French Armored Division leads the actual attack on Paris, and there's an uprising from within. But, it is kind of taking place in the shadow of the American army and the British and the Canadians who have, invaded Normandy and liberated France and broken the back of the German forces. Instead, when Charles de Gaulle gets into Paris, and he's the president of the Provisional Republic, he'd made himself head of France, very de Gaulle-like thing to have done. He gives a speech, "Oh, Paris is free, Paris' suffering is over, Paris has liberated itself, France has liberated Paris, the French army this, the French army that." You could have said thank you. You could have mentioned the fact that there were some other people there, the ones who, put your country back together, continued the fight when you were beaten, and were there so that you could rejoin them and be on the winning side of a war you'd actually lost. Would it have killed you to say something about that? And obviously the way the Allies managed it, including deferring to de Gaulle much of the time, even though they privately would have liked to strangle him, certainly Churchill would have, and making sure it was a French unit, it was designed to restore French national pride, partly to make France a less prickly ally. And the scary thing is maybe it worked. Maybe they would have been even harder to get along with had they had a worse inferiority complex over what had happened to them in the Second World War. But if that's true, it's scary because they were really difficult to get along with anyway. De Gaulle famously took the French out of the NATO integrated command. He ordered the American troops out of France, prompting Secretary of State Dean Rusk's bitter question, does that include all the ones buried in those war cemeteries in Normandy? And then in 1967, de Gaulle did this new nuclear doctrine, tout azimut, all horizons, saying that France was ready to respond to a nuclear attack from anywhere, not just from the Soviet Union or China. So what, you think the United States is going to attack you? What kind of thing is that to say? You think Britain's going to attack you? Oh, for goodness sake. Surely everybody understood, and in a way they did all understand, that the Western alliance was now too solid for any possibility of a resumption of the warfare that had taken place between Britain and France for centuries. The United States wasn't going to attack France. That was absolute infuriating nonsense. And yet, in a way, it grew out of the attitude that de Gaulle manifested in that offensive. It was an offensive speech that he gave on August 25th of 1944. I understand he was upset. I understand there was an upswelling of pride. But really, that wasn't the way to do it, because it was an event worth celebrating, and it was an event worth celebrating in a generous spirit. So I'm going to put all that aside and say, you know what? August 25th is a great day. It's the day when Paris was liberated from the Nazis.
Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.